You know, although the farm can be a source of peace and joy in your life, and I'll be the first to advocate that, it can also be a source of great frustration. Howdy there, Tommy. As you can see, Tommy is really growing up there. So first, the challenges in the work never stops. As they say, if you're a farmer, you don't get any days off. You really have to work to take a day off. And sometimes it's just easier to keep working. Animals. Animals need constant care. Equipment breaks down or is in need of repair. And it always breaks down at the worst possible time. Infrastructure on the farm can be very costly. The weather can screw up all of your plants. Then, of course, there's the routine aspect of farming. The daily chores, you do the same thing every day. And that can become a drudgery. And of course, there's many other things that I'm not mentioning at all. But this gives you an idea that these elements of frustration associated with farming and the challenges can build up, lead to great sources of frustration, and that can lead to burnout. And so I want to talk to you about 7 habits that you can incorporate into your life that will help you to guard against cycles of frustration in your life, because we all have them. Okay, so I'm up here in an area where we have a runway for the sheep. We're expecting to get some rain pretty soon, and what we want to do is plant trees along the side here to define this runway. You know, we spent quite a bit of time cutting these runways out so we'd have paddocks last year, and we don't want to lose all that work. So in order to preserve it, we're going to plant these Gliricidia sepium, which is a nitrogen fixer, an extremely useful tree, which I'll talk about in another video. So while I'm telling you about the 7 habits to help you to deal with cycles of frustration in your life, I'm going to be planting these Gliricidia sepium seeds so that we'll have a tight row of trees going up this runway. Frustration is the feeling of being upset or annoyed because you are unable to change or achieve things in your life. The first habit that you need to develop to really combat against this is to take care of yourself. If you've ever been on an airplane, the crew, when they're giving you the safety instructions, if the pressure goes down in the plane, the first thing they tell you to do is to affix your own mask first before you try to help anybody else with their mask. And that's really good advice, because if you don't take care of yourself, there's no way you're going to be able to take care of anybody else. So there's 3 things you want to do in order to take care of yourself. The first is to get enough sleep. We all know that we can get cranky when we don't get enough sleep, so it's important to get a good night's sleep every night. The second is to eat healthy, but eat well. The term hangry is often used by people, and that refers to people being angry because they're hungry. In other words, their temper is easily ignited. And then finally, get quality exercise. Now, when I say get quality exercise, I don't mean to treat it as just another task in your busy schedule. Quality exercise connects you with nature, family, friends, community, and pets. It connects you to other living things around you, and that's what you want. You want quality exercise. The second habit is to change your perspective. When things go wrong, it's many times very easy to kind of fall into a victim mentality. In other words, you think that everybody's against you. Well, everybody's not against you. And people fall into victim mentality many times because they're unwilling or unable to take responsibility for their own actions. So many times it's their own actions that have caused them the frustration, but they're unwilling to take responsibility for it. So they fall into this victim mentality and blame everybody else or everything else around them. Now, directly connected to changing your perspective is to identify thought distortions that you may have. Question your assumptions. When you fall into victim mentality, many times you develop these thought distortions about things and people around you that simply aren't even true, but you've convinced yourself that they're true. For example, in my professional life, I was a university professor at a medical school, and I directed a research center there, and I was absolutely convinced that the administration at the university had as its mission in life to make my life as miserable as they possibly could. That they were deliberately throwing barriers in my way, an idiotic rule that didn't make a lot of sense to me. None of it was true. People were simply doing their job, and their job was to pay attention to the rules. I didn't particularly like the rules, but the rules existed for a reason, and I had to accept that. So it's very important when you fall into one of these cycles of frustration not to fall into a victim mentality that is going to cause you to have thought distortions and unreasonable assumptions about things and people. So the fourth important habit is to be flexible. Maintaining flexibility in your life means that you're open to new things and new ideas. There might actually be a better way to accomplish what you want. And if you're not flexible, you'll never find it. Being flexible also means that you listen actively. Active listening is not easy. It requires that you focus your energy on the person doing the speaking. In today's world, people don't listen very much. They actually just wait to speak. And so they're not really listening to what the other person is saying. And as a result, they often jump to conclusions. And those conclusions are false conclusions sometimes. And you can lower your frustration level tremendously simply by being flexible. The fifth habit is to be patient. This is not easy either, because on the farm, we want to get things done. It's a hard lesson to learn that nature doesn't operate on your schedule. Things rarely happen as rapidly as you want them to, and that's a lesson that every farmer and homesteader has to learn. And good things often happen when you wait. I can't tell you the number of times in the last few years when I've been frantic to start a project only to be stymied by something, and then to find out that by waiting I was able to either save money or I learned about a different technique or something else, and I was able to do the job better. So being patient can help to reduce your frustration level tremendously. Assume responsibility for your own actions is number 6. It's always easier to blame somebody else for your problems than it is to assume responsibility for them yourself. But this is not good for you. You're not being honest with yourself. And when you're not being honest with yourself, you can't feel good about yourself. And that pushes you again over into the victim mentality mode of thinking. So assume responsibility for your own actions. Yeah, it's my own fault. Let me give you an example. You may be absolutely furious about an opportunity that you missed out on, and you may blame it on somebody else, when in reality, the reason that you missed the opportunity was because you procrastinated. You waited until the last minute. Accept that you screwed up and tried to do better next time. That should be the attitude that you have. Do better next time. Finally, and perhaps most important, learn to laugh at yourself. There is nothing that can help you more. Your brain releases all kinds of endorphins and good chemicals. You feel great. And there's nothing that can help you more in terms of your mood, in terms of your outlook on life, than simply to laugh. And if you don't feel like laughing, find a program on TV or a movie or something that will make you laugh. Or just start laughing. And you'd be surprised if you start laughing, others will laugh along with you and you'll laugh along with them. So laughter is very important, and learning to laugh at yourself, not taking yourself so seriously, is a very important lesson. So those are the 7 habits that you can incorporate into your life that will help you to avoid cycles of frustration. So with that, I'll end the video here. Thank you very much for watching.